Oh, yes, it is. Anthony Rivera here with you, talking about all the news and happenings surrounding that team from Queens, the New York Mets. It's a Subway to Shea series preview as the New York Mets get set to take on the Miami Marlins at Citi Field. Yes, the Mets are back from London after that 2-game set with the Philadelphia Phillies. If you haven't checked out the podcast, please check out episode 146 as we had on Tom Pringle from Bat Flips and Nerds all over the UK over there. Make sure you check that out. A great episode. You can check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or right here on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribing to Subway to Shea on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. And you can subscribe to me or follow me on X at Ant Rivera 86. Let's get into this preview with the Miami Marlins, the tale of the tape, as I like to say. And the Mets pretty much lead in all categories: hitting, pitching, and you look at the batting average. Mets right now 242 to the Marlins 234. They have 69 home runs to the Marlins 52, 266 RBIs to the Marlins 226. Stolen bases, 46. Marlins have 35, and the OPS 702 to the Marlins 637. Then you go to the pitching. Mets have better pitching this season, not by much, but they do. ERA 426 to the Marlins 466. They have more strikeouts, 558 to the Marlins 528. And they have more walks. Actually, that's the only part where the Marlins kind of lead is in walks, because the Mets lead the league in walks, 258 for the Mets, 234 for the Marlins. But you look at these two teams, Mets in fourth place, Marlins in fifth place. Mets 28 and 36, Marlins 22 and 43. And the Mets can really take a leap here if they can take care of business against the Miami Marlins. And if you really want to be taken seriously, to me, the New York Mets need to sweep the Marlins. No winning 2 games. You have to sweep the Marlins. You can win the series and win 2 games, but to really have me taking this team seriously, you got to win 3 games against this team. You got a San Diego Padres team coming up this weekend that could give the Mets fits. And the Marlins have always given the Mets fits, right? The Marlins have always been that team, whether they're in first place or last place, have always given the New York Mets trouble, and that is always a concern. But the New York Mets get to welcome back Francisco Álvarez. He is off of the IL now, being reinstated. The Mets sent down Tomas Nido, so we are going to have a catching tandem of Francisco Álvarez and Luis Torrens. We'll see how much they play Francisco Álvarez out the gate. I'm pretty sure he'll go 1 game in, 1 game out for now, because he's just coming back from that injuries to his hand, unless they just go full bore with him. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm just glad that Francisco Álvarez is back. Hopefully Edwin Diaz is back soon, and this is the time where the Mets need to make the run, right? The Mets are going to need to make this run against a team like the Marlins, against the San Diego Padres, who will hold on to that. I don't know if it's the second or the third wild card, but they're one of the wild card teams. The Mets are 3.5 games back of the wild card and really need to get into that position if they want to be a team that makes the playoffs this year, or a team that buys at the deadline. I'm still not sold on it yet. I'm still cautiously optimistic, and I will wait and see how this team plays over the next couple of weeks to determine if they should be buyers or if they should be sellers. Maybe they're going to do a little bit of both to go into next season with a better chance at free agency and a better chance at winning. So we'll see what happens there. Let's look at the pitching probables for this series. Tyler McGill will go in game 1. He's 1-2 with a 3.00 ERA against Jesus Luzardo, who gives the Mets problems. He definitely gave them problems in his last start. He's 2-5 right now with a 5.30 ERA. You go to game 2, David Peterson has pitched 2 starts. He's pitched very well, 1-0 with a 3.09 ERA against Braxton Garrett, who's 2-1 with a 5.81 ERA. So 2 lefties off the bat for the Mets to face. Then you got Luis Severino, who's pitched very well. 4-2 with a 3.25 ERA going up against Roddery Munez. And he is 1-2 with a 5.95 ERA. Which start do you got to look into the most here? I'm thinking this Tyler McGill, Jesus Luzardo start. The Mets have to set the tone in this series. And like I said, I want to see them sweep the Marlins. I don't want 2 out of 3. I mean, I'll take 2 out of 3, right? Everyone's going to take 2 out of 3. I will not accept them losing this series. They have to win the series and continue to build off of what they have built since that meeting that Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo held a couple weeks ago. They split the series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They swept the Washington Nationals. And, now you have the opportunity to go. Oh, they split also with the Phillies. And now you have the opportunity to take care of business against the Miami Marlins. And they have to do the exact same thing they did to Washington to this Miami Marlins team. And Tyler McGill needs to set that tone. His last start wasn't great. He did get the win, but the last start wasn't great. Jesus Luzardo has given the Mets fits, and we'll get into what is now the matchups to watch out for in this series. And I'm going to start off with Pete Alonso, the polar bear, batting .389, got 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, a 1.172 OPS in 18 at-bats against Braxton Garrett. He's not the only one that handled Braxton Garrett very well, because you also got Francisco Lindor, .333 batting average, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, and a 1.291 OPS in 16 at-bats against Braxton Garrett. So I'm looking forward to these two in game 2 to take on Braxton Garrett and help this offense score some runs. And then you go to a matchup for the Marlins. Tim Anderson's batting .294, has 1 home run, 1 RBI, and a 7.65 OPS in 17 at-bats versus Luis Severino. So make sure to be on the lookout for that matchup in game 3. They've seen each other in the American League when Luis Severino was in the Yankees and Tim Anderson was in Chicago White Sox. So look out for that matchup between those two. And then players to watch in this series. And I got a couple players to watch for the Mets. I got a couple players to watch for the Marlins. Let's start off with the Marlins first. Josh Bell, 4 doubles, a home run, 4 RBIs, 6 runs, a walk, a 400 batting average, and a 1.030 OPS in his last 10 games. You look at the pitching side, and I'm going to Jesus Luzardo because the last time he faced the Mets, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, 7 walks, and no walks, 7 Ks and no walks versus the Mets. And that was on May 17th. He got the win there. I think it was like an 8-0 win for the Marlins there. So be on the lookout for Jesus Luzardo. They have to score some runs against him and set the tone in this series. So hopefully the Mets can do that. But it's going to be a hard task against that lefty, which the Mets struggle against lefties. So, but on the Mets side, the players to watch, Jose Iglesias. He's 9 for 22, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, 4 runs, 1 walk, and a 409 batting average, 935 OPS. You got 2 lefties going right off the bat in this series. So maybe Jose Iglesias gets those first 2 starts if they're going to do this platoon with Jeff McNeil. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully Iglesias gets into the lineup tonight, and hopefully he gets up into the lineup tomorrow, and you keep playing the hot hand as much as you can. As much as he plays well, you keep playing him against the lefties. And then you throw in Jeff McNeil against the righties, who then went, I think it was 2 for 4 on Sunday. He definitely got 2 hits against the Philadelphia Phillies. So Mets other player to watch, and it's a pitcher. I can't believe I'm putting this up here, but Adrian Hauser, look at his last 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, only 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 0 ERA right out of the bullpen. We knew that he was going to pitch well in the bullpen. He has done so in the past, and he's doing so now with the Mets, and hopefully he can keep that up because the Mets need length out of their bullpen when it comes to, that kind of Trevor Williams type role, and maybe it's Adrian Hauser is the guy that's going to be doing that. He's pitched well so far. Let's see if he can keep it up. But that's going to wrap up the Subway to Shea series preview for the Mets and the Marlins. Like I said, please follow Subway to Shea on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. You can follow me, Anthony Rivera, on X at AntRivera86, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks so much for joining in, and stay tuned for the next Subway to Shea podcast and the next Subway to Shea series preview as the Mets take on the San Diego Padres this weekend.